The 8th season of Rocket League is upon us. Here to break it all down is Lawler, joining us from Wisconsin, one of the analysts for the RLCS. I'm Arda Ocal. He's Jacob Wolf. Lawler, thank you very much for joining us. Let's start here. Your personal preparation as an analyst on the desk. What are some of the things that you've been preparing going into the broadcasts for Season 8?
The season's been a heavy one, which is a good thing. We, in the off-season, tried to watch all the majors and all the things that are going on during the season and the off-season, but we've had a lot of roster swaps going on, so just trying to see what's happening with these new rosters and how they're performing based upon their new experiences and what new players are fitting in where and kind of the new dynamic that they bring. And with that comes a lot of prep work. I pride myself in being one of the most knowledgeable when it comes to the scene, and that's no different season in and season out. So taking notes, doing replay analysis, just finding little niches of what these players do or what they bring to their new team and seeing how that's going to possibly, I guess, when they face up against a new roster, or even a roster that they've played for a very long time, how is this new player going to affect that? So a lot of time and effort spent into way too many notes, pretty much binders full at this point.
So which players on new teams going into this season intrigues you personally the most?
The one you kind of have to talk about is a long-standing team for NRG. Now, North America's kind of sweethearts have always come in second. No matter what they play in, it's been kind of their story. And their longtime veteran, one of the only two players to go to every single World Championship, Fireburner, is now coaching for Cloud9. He has officially retired as a player. And they decided to go and do an international transfer with TurboPulse, a three-time world champion, who was previously of Dignitas. So he is the second time we've ever seen an international transfer, the first being Drippe from OCE, coming over and playing with the roster. And on paper, it is the most talented team we've ever seen. Pretty similar to the current world champions in Vitality. So a lot of heads turned when we saw him come over, and the first time they played an event together, they won it. So Beyond the Summit was their take. Montreal, they were close as well. So you have to discuss the fact that it is an international transfer. It is a highlight player, and he's already making an impact within just 2 tournaments.
Well, you know, talent is not everything. A lot of these teams, while very talented, they don't either gel together well or they struggle in communication and leadership. What do you think, though, is sort of NRG's competitive advantage outside of just being a talented squad?
So they, for a very long time, have kind of looked deflated. Not in gameplay-wise, they've always been competitive. Just on a personable level, you can tell that when you get second place so many times, or when you're always that close to being able to lift the trophy and falling short, it does take a toll on you. And speaking with both their star player, Garrett, as well as TurboPulse in the new transfer, both of them were getting kind of close to just being like, it's not worth it anymore. I can't do this anymore. And with this new transfer, it's kind of revitalized the team. This is both the hungriest they've ever been. They've both admitted to me that they're feeling this kind of resurgence coming into their play. So the excitement that they have just to play the game again is a different level. Anytime you have a chance to play with a new roster, people you haven't played with before, it's a new dynamic. It kind of rekindles that flame that is why you started competing in the first place. So having this new look at a team and this new level of motivation, I think is something really scary, because they've always been a team that works hard and practices a lot, but now that they're really gunning for it yet again is kind of scary for the other rosters. And there's a level of experience, something that NRG has always struggled when they get to that final moment, that if anything tends to falter, they fall apart and lose. And Turbo is now showing already his cadence when it comes to that level of play. He's always been a player that back up against the wall. We just got scored on. We're losing. A Season 5 World Championship in London comes to mind. It was actually against NRG and Dignitas when he was with them. They scored a 0-second goal in Game 7 bracket reset overtime to bring it into overtime. And despite that happening, TurboPulse still scores a game-winning goal measly 15 seconds later. So being able to handle that adversity, or that structure of, okay, it's very, very stressful, it doesn't matter, I'm still going to stay calm, composed, and take the victory. That is being carried over to NRG, a team that has always struggled with that. So having that veteran level on every facet of the field is something that is going to highly benefit them, and we've already seen it pay off with them taking Beyond the Summit.
How much pressure do you think NRG has now with these changes and all that you mentioned about their past? How much pressure do they have to win this season?
I think it's a lot. It's a team that's kind of been revered as excellence in our community. Usually they or G2, and then for a while it was Cloud9, but NRG has always been in talks when they were Kings of Urban back in preseason season 1 as a team that is the best in North America. They've always been in contention with that. So for them, it's just the frustration of being good and crushing online, but then when it comes to the live event, just falling short every single time. And now that their organization is making huge roster changes to make it an accomplishment, they've got some pressure. I can tell from a player perspective, it's something they don't really consider or really look at. It is not something you can really concern yourself with because it is going to put a mental strain that you really don't want to handle. So for them, for the players specifically, I don't think it's their focus. They know to take it 1 week at a time, just like you do in any major sport. Yeah, the end goal is winning the Super Bowl, or in this case, the Rocket League World Championship title. But they can't be thinking about that because if it does, it's going to create the same stigma that they've always had, which is, you know what, we're going to fall short. We're going to take second place. So I think there's a lot of pressure, but for the players, like, they do nothing but win. Now can they do it on the biggest stage? That's going to be their focus, but you have to take it week by week because the schedule has definitely changed this season, and it's going to be a lot more impactful starting in the early weeks rather than kind of the back end being the heavy load.